It's coming out. All right, so what am I doing? I'm draining curds that have fermented overnight from a milk that I made, that I coagulated, because I am back at the research table, the drawing board, I don't know what you call it. I'm back in my kitchen making cheese all over again for a new book that I'm writing. I published the Artisan Vegan Cheese back in 2012, which sort of kickstarted the vegan cheese revolution, many people say. And this book was largely based on cashews. There are other ingredients in it. But this new book that's coming out in 2025 will have a plethora of different milks that I've figured out coagulate, just like animal milk, with a certain enzyme or acid added to it. And then I take those curds and I ferment them overnight. And then I turn it into things like this. I've got a blue cheese. I figured out the perfect milk for making these beautiful curds for blue cheese right here. The cheese isn't ready. We just tasted it and it's a very mild blue cheese. It's absolutely lovely. This is a cheese ripening box to maintain the right amount of humidity you want for certain cheeses. And this is made at 55 degrees, so I have it in a wine fridge. And then I have some very simple fresh cheeses. This cheese is made out of pumpkin seeds and almonds. This is the same cheese, but it's been aged. So as you can see, it's beautiful and nice and sliceable. This is a similar milk, but it has a different coagulant, which makes it very acidic, very tangy, sort of like a goat cheese. Sour cream, made in the same way. Start with a milk, drain it, and next thing you know, you've got sour cream. Cultured, just like the real thing. This is like a ricotta. However, you can turn this into a cheese like this, and this is a perfect base for making a bloomy rind and growing that fuzzy white mold on top. So I'm so excited, but the new book won't just be cheese. It'll be how to make milk of different types. It'll be ice cream, it'll be sour cream, it'll be butter, all things coming out of a plant dairy. So I'm super excited about that. That is what I'm focusing on right now. And you know, coming from where I was, I really needed to find a project that I could just throw myself into and rediscover, tap into that creative part of me that had somehow been lost. So I'm having a lot of fun. I'm gonna meet some taste testers soon as I create all these new cheeses here. And I will be sharing all of those recipes with you. You know, one of the things that I've really learned is I'm interested in a democratic knowledge of food. How do we make these products yourself? How do you make, they're not products, how do we make these wonderful things by yourself to be able to share with friends, with your community, with your family? And that's what I'm interested in. I'm really interested in open sourcing how we do these things, which was the intent of Artisan Vegan Cheese initially. So I'm back at it again, and I hope you'll join me for the journey. I will be sharing some of these recipes with you over the next year or so until my book comes out. But let me just tell you one of my big grievances. Now, making plant milk is something that requires the ingredients and then a blender, and then you got to put it through a nut milk bag, and you're sitting there milking your nuts. And I'm telling you, it's exhausting. So I decided to write to one of these nut milk machine manufacturers. I wrote to Almond Joy, and the good people at Almond Joy were kind enough to send me one of their machines. Oh, but not just one. They sent me two. One of you will be a lucky recipient of an Almond Cow machine starter kit worth $345. So let me tell you more about that later, but first I want to show you not only how to make the milk in it, but what do you do with all the pulp that's left over? And that is something that I have been amassing, tons and tons of pulp from all the different milks that I've been making. So today I'm going to show you how to make milk and cookies and milk and crackers. Today we're going to make one of my favorite milks, almond oat milk. Now, if you go to the store, there are all these different kinds of plant milks available, but they're all single ingredients. It's oat milk or almond milk or cashew milk or soy milk. I don't know why people don't combine them. I love almond milk, but sometimes it's just a little bit too thin, whereas oat milk doesn't have that rich flavor from the fats that you might get in almond milk. So I found the perfect combination, but combining those two ingredients to create this rich, delicious milk that you see right here in this milk jug. And then we're going to take the pulp and we're going to turn them into these wonderful crackers. It's my go-to cracker today. All right, so I'm going to take my almond cow apart like this, and the nuts go right in here. The ingredients go right in here. So I've got just a scant cup of almonds, and I got about a quarter cup of oats. You're only supposed to put a cup in here, but I find that the almonds leave a lot of spaces for the oats to kind of fall between, so it works out just perfectly. And that you put this back on like this. I'm going to put 5 cups of water in here. That's the minimum amount you can put into the machine. And clean up with this device is also very simple. So push that in and then push the button. Okay, there you go. The whole cycle takes about 1 minute. It's done now. But what I found is that I like to run it twice. If I run it twice, I find that it emulsifies better. And as you can see, the milk stays emulsified. It doesn't separate that quickly, which is really great. So I'm going to push it one more time. Now, when you see the solid blue button is when you know the milk is done. But I am going to run it one more time. Okay, so it's done now. They give you this little container either to make like a rich cream or to use it as a device to hold this like that. And there's my milk right there. Now I'm going to take this off and you'll see that the pulp is in here, but it's kind of a runny pulp. I actually like to run it just this much through a nut milk bag and just squeeze it so I get every last bit of milk that I can. There's not much left, but I get just enough there to get this dry pulp. And this is the pulp that we're going to use to make crackers and cookies. Now this milk I can drink. I can also turn into a cheese. Has so many uses. If you don't have a lot of pulp at one time, you can go ahead and keep it in your refrigerator where it keeps for about 2 weeks, or you can go ahead and freeze it until you have enough. But don't throw this away. I even feed it to my dogs. I mix it in with their V-Dog kibble, and they like it. They like it too. Oh, the pigs like it too. It's kind of rich and tasty, but they make the most delicious crackers. So we're going to start with the crackers. All right, we're going to make what I would call my go-to cracker today. I have them around at all times because they are so nutritious, so healthy, full of fiber, made from the pulp of whatever milk you're making, whether it's oats or almonds or cashews or, I don't know, whatever. Pumpkin seeds, that's another one. So we're going to take a cup of this pulp and we're going to put it in here. Now I squeezed it as much as I could. When it comes out of the machine, it's a little wet. So be sure to run that through a nut milk bag and just squeeze it so it's nice and dry and somewhat crumbly like this. Now we're going to add extra virgin olive oil, and you want to make sure you use one that's really flavorful and fruity. And you're going to mix a half a cup of olive oil into this mixture right here, into the pulp that is. And give that a stir, break up any lumps, so it turns into something that's sort of like a paste. All right, now I like to add salt at this stage, so you're going to add about a teaspoon of sea salt. If you want to add any seasonings, whether it's chopped garlic or smoked paprika or various herbs de Provence, rosemary. I don't have a whole lot here, so I'm just going to add some rosemary to this. You don't have to. You can leave it plain as well, too. But I'm just going to break that up a little bit, throw my rosemary in there, basil, oregano, whatever you want to add to this. Lemon zest. So today I'm going to use gluten-free flour, but I frequently use all-purpose or buckwheat flour. Oh, in fact, I think I might throw some buckwheat flour in here. I have used every kind of flour out there for this cracker, and everything works. It's absolutely wonderful. I often make it gluten-free because so many people today, when you serve them cheese, they ask if you have a gluten-free cracker, and so it's just easier to have gluten-free crackers on hand, especially if they're good. So I'm going to do a mixture of buckwheat flour and gluten-free flour mix. Now, buckwheat flour is also gluten-free, so I've got a cup in there. And I'm going to stir in a teaspoon of baking powder. And no, I'm not being super exact. It's not that important. Just gonna give that a stir. All right, now I'm gonna stir it in here. And now all we have to do is roll it out and bake it. Okay, so this amount of dough makes just enough for a half sheet pan. So that can be your guide as to how thin you're going to roll this out. So I like to do it between 2 sheets of parchment. It's a little sticky and I don't want to add more flour. So if I do it between parchment, then I know it won't stick. So this is a full sheet pan size parchment. So I'm going to just roll it on one side so I can sort of replicate the size of this. Kind of like that. All right, so if there's a little bit of excess here, I can take it off here and attach it where I don't have quite enough. And roll that again. Okay, so let me see how that fits onto my sheet pan, and then I can do the final rolling out. There we go. I'm going to cut that off. Okay, now we're going to actually cut these before we bake them because it makes it a lot easier. And you can do that with a knife. You can just go like this, although it's better to go down so you don't tear the dough. You have to be very careful. So I prefer just to use a bench scraper, and I just push down. Now, if you like, you can finish it off with a little bit of Maldon flake salt. So now I'm going to get them in a 350 Fahrenheit oven and bake them for about 30-35 minutes until they're a deep brown. Now, they're somehow better when they're a deeper brown than a light brown. You'll see in a minute. Okay, I'm ready to make some milk and cookies. So I just have this endless amount of pulp. This is a combination of almond and pumpkin seed pulp for making milk. And cheese, so, oh, wait a minute, I wasn't supposed to do that. There goes Miyoko, getting ahead of herself as usual. All right, I'm gonna start creaming the butter with the sugar for these delicious chocolate chip cookies. And I have a cup, it looks like a mound, but it's actually a cup of butter, homemade butter from the Homemade Vegan Pantry. If you look at that, you'll learn how to make your own butter. It's called Glorious Butter. And then because I needed it at room temperature, I went ahead and I chopped it up into little bits because I had forgotten to pull it out ahead of time. Okay, and I'm going to cream that with the sugar. Now I've got 2 kinds of sugar in here. This is a combination of brown sugar and coconut sugar. So I have 3/4 cup of each, and I'm going to throw that in there, and we're going to turn on the mixer and cream the 2. It's looking pretty good now that it's not pulling away from it's sticking to the bottom of the bowl. All right, now I'm going to add an unusual ingredient. Oftentimes in chocolate cookies, there are eggs. Instead, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of my homemade yogurt. Now the yogurt is going to react with the baking soda, producing a slightly light texture with a delicate crumb. I'm going to add a little vanilla and mix it one more time. All right, there's a little bit of separation going on because the butter was not at room temperature. So I'm going to do a little trick, which is to just give it a little bit of heat. And then I'm going to mix it one more time. This will just take about 10 seconds. Add the pulp. Give that another mix. Finally, we're going to add the flour and the chocolate chips. So I've got 1 1/4 cups of white flour here, all-purpose flour. Truth be told, I made this cookie yesterday with a cup of flour and I found that it needed just a little bit. So I'm trying it with 1 1/4 cups. I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking powder and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, which will react with the yogurt that's in there. I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt and 2 tablespoons of finely ground coffee. And then I'm going to whisk it all together like this. All right, now we're going to dump it in here. Finally, we'll add the chocolate chips. About 10 ounces or 12 or however much you want. Okay, and I think that's it. We're gonna put them on a sheet pan. I'm gonna form them with an ice cream scooper, and we're gonna bake them and then have some milk and cookies. All right, put them in the oven at 350, and they're gonna cook for about 15 minutes. That's about how long I cooked them yesterday. I did increase the flour by 1/4 cup, so let's see. Now, what am I gonna do with all of this? It's just me, myself, and I now. I took a tray of cookies down to the barn yesterday to the staff. I gave a little tin away to some neighbors, and I even have more. So I'm gonna freeze this just in case my kids come home. All right, cookies and milk, crackers and milk. They're both out of the oven now, made from the leftover pulp from making my jug of milk. So where do I start? Now, these are the crackers that I nosh on all the time. I just grab a few just to have. They're hot out of the oven right now. Put a little flake salt on them, but let me try it with one of my little cheeses. Now, this one here is that ultra tangy goat cheese that, you know, I wasn't sure if people would like, but I've had a couple people now, including omnivores, that have really, really liked it. So let me give this a try. Oh, that's good. Barry, my house guest, was saying that he's an omnivore. He watched You Are What You Eat, and now he's trying to eat plant-based, so which is fantastic. That documentary has done so much to get people to see food in a different way. So he said that would be great on a pizza with caramelized onions. I know I said crackers and milk, but this would be better with a glass of wine, actually. But this is really good. But now let's dive into a cookie. A sip of my milk, a bite of my cookie. What a delicate crunch. The exterior is crisp and light, and with that delicate crunch, the interior is nice and soft. Oh wow, this is so good. What a great afternoon treat. Milk and cookies, milk and crackers. Who could ask for anything more? Maybe you will enter the giveaway for the Almond Cow machine. If you want to enter the giveaway where you get this cool machine, this fantastic machine, you get this beautiful milk jug, and you get all of these ingredients. You get coconut and whole oats and cashews and almonds, all worth $325. So if you want all of this, be sure to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment about what kind of milk or cheese you would like. Good luck.